I'm Jackie Jacobs.
I'm Darcy Edwards.
And I'm Melissa Reedhead.
And this is group 2. And we don't have a leader. Dang it. I guess I can lead. Let me just pull up the stuff. Let's see. Okay. The first question is, what were your impressions of the CRC article and video by the United Nations? What about the article and videos by parental rights? So what were your guys' feelings on those?
I thought it was pretty scary.
It was certainly
Which
very it was, I didn't realize how bad things were. I guess I was somewhat naive. I don't know. What about you, Alyssa?
I was like, I always get this way when I don't know about an issue beforehand, and then I look at 2 opposing views, and I just get super, super confused. And then I get in this, like, it's like the same thing with, like, the presidential stuff. I'm like, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to do, you know? So
Yeah.
That's how I was. But when I was watching, like, you watch the CRC, and you're like, this is wonderful. This is, like, a perfect little thing, and it's so great. And then I watched the parental rights, and I was like, that's when I got confused. To me, it kind of seems like it's kind of tailored for people that, for like parents that aren't really like good parents, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of like tailored for places that don't have like laws set for children and don't have like certain things for children. So if for like the US, it's kind of like not really needed because we have like certain laws set. I don't know. That's kind of what I got from it, but I didn't really confused about it.
Darcy, what about you? I know you said you were shocked.
Yeah, it kind of made me really want to be an advocate and like stand up and say something. But I didn't like when we watched the video on Kelly's video, how she told us like what things really meant. I felt like they're trying to twist things.
Right, yeah. How they they put some good stuff in it and then they put the really bad stuff in it. And so you oppose it, then it makes it look like you're opposing this good stuff. And so it's hard to argue against. All right, let's go to our next question. If you are from or have ever lived in a country where the CRC has already been ratified, what are some positive and negative effects you have observed as a result? We all live in the US, so that doesn't really apply to us.
My mom's from Brazil.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't really talk to her about this, but I could just talk about, like, I know that, like, a lot, like, children don't have, like, a very good education there, because it's a third world country. So I know that it's helped in that way, like, education-wise, and I know they helped with, like, bringing, like, vaccines and stuff to the country and, like, bringing more better healthcare. But it's, like, it's not, like, it helped a little bit, but it's not, like, I don't know, like, it still has issues, if that makes sense. But I think it has to do with, like, government stuff that doesn't have to do with, like, what we're talking about. But, yeah. Just a little insight.
I didn't know that. I think it's good to understand that there are some good that comes from it.
Yeah, there were some good, but it's not, like, 100% fixed, I guess you could say. But I don't know if that's a CRC issue or if that's just like the government, like Brazilian government issue or.
Well, and I imagine that's probably a lot of the difficulty in figuring out whether it's done good or not is, you know, a lot of these governments are, especially in third world countries, you know, they're not always out for what's best for their citizens. Sometimes it's what's best for the government. And so it can be really confusing, you know, whether these measures are doing any good.
Sorry.
You're fine. I don't know, Darcy, did you research another country? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
All right.
So, Alyssa, what was some of the good things besides vaccines that you mentioned?
Education.
And how has it affected education, do you know?
It's given like what the CRC does, it gives rights to the child, so it gives them like more access to education so that they can go to schools. So I guess it gives like the child rights, like they have the right to go to school and to learn.
So I know I have had to study other countries before and their education systems, and that's like a big issue because a lot of them don't want like the girls continuing school. You know, they don't want that. So this would be something that would be good in a country like that or a situation.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so are we ready for the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. How did Julie's presentation help your understanding of the ecological approach to family advocacy? I think it was good to put it into context of what we're talking about. I think, at least for me, it helped a lot. You know, the micro systems are, you know, the individuals and the families. The meso system, you know, talks about school and churches and the community. You know, the macro, government. I took notes on this somewhere. There we go. And you know, institutions. And so just to have it broken down like that for me, I think was helpful in understanding, you know, the ecological approach. And you know, we can get involved on every level. You know, whether we, you know, get involved with United Families International and do it on a macro level, whether we do it, you know, in our community, in our schools, and get involved on a mesosystem level, or even if we just, you know, do it, and we should do it in our own families on the micro level. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that was a good summary.
All right.
Sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
It's so bad, like the connection, so I'm trying not to talk as much. I feel like the more I talk, the worse the connection gets.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Okay, so the next question is then, what system or level do you personally feel would be the most difficult to advocate, and why? for myself right now, I'm going to say the macro level. Like going to the UN and talking to delegates and networking, that is all very scary to me. So yeah, that would be the most difficult for me.
I believe that is true.
Alyssa, what do you think?
I was talking and then I realized I was muted.
Oh.
And I was like, are they not hearing me? No, I agree with the macro system because sorry, I got confused. The macro system's the one with like the laws, right?
Yeah, government
Yeah.
and
yeah, I feel like that is like the hardest because you, especially in like our government, you need like votes and you need like a lot of people and you need a lot of like different, I don't know, it takes a long time to do that and you need a lot of people to help you with that. And so I feel like that would be the hardest, not impossible, but very, very hard.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, and I think, I know Kelly kept saying in her presentation, one person can make a difference. And, these people, they're just people with titles, but they're still just people and they'll listen to you. And like, I hear that and I think, yeah, okay. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, they're not going to listen to me. Like, no. So I guess I haven't quite gotten to the believing that part.
You have to come up with the right story that's going to touch everybody, draw everybody in, and get them on the emotional level, and you got it.
Yeah, right. Okay. I'll work on that. I'll work on my story. Okay. The next question is our last question, and it is, what system or level do you personally feel is the most important to advocate and why? So that being said, I also feel like the macro level may be the most important level to advocate on because I feel like it would have the greatest influence. I mean, we can advocate in our families and we can advocate in our communities, but I feel like the effects are so small that I feel like if you would advocate on a macro level, I feel like the effects would be much larger and much more far-reaching. So, but it's also more difficult.
So what if you did it within your family and then did it within your community where you got more people in your community to also advocate, and then you guys moved out, like together, and expanded that way?
Well, and that's what I was thinking about because I mean, I live in a community that is not predominantly LDS. Like we are definitely in the minority, but there's a lot of religious families in our area. Like Lutheran is very popular. There's a lot of Lutheran schools. We have a Baptist university in our small town, which is kind of weird, but it's there. So I mean, there's definitely people with religious backgrounds or religious affiliations that I feel like I could go and talk to them about United Families at least. And at least start kind of getting them involved in that, and then maybe that would kind of branch out. I don't know. What do you guys think? How could you, if you start on the micro level or the meta level, how would you do that? Or how would you get to the macro level? Or do you feel like that's the most important level anyway?
Well, I kind of think, like, go back to Kelly's video, and she kind of started out like her family, and then she moved to like the community when she did like the gates on the school, or actually when she did her first one when she was in high school, that was like in her community, and then the gates at the school, and then I think that she gained confidence too, and she was helping others, and she got more into like the community of advocacy, and kind of grew from there. wasn't something where she just jumped into, going to the UN.
Well, and yeah, and that's true. That is true. And I feel like a part of it, especially with families, is just educating people. Do they realize, the negative effects? I never knew this about the UN. This was all like new to me. And, my eyes were certainly opened for the first time as to what happens in the UN, what's going on in the UN that affects families. And, I thought it was very interesting. She talked about, the Cairo Convention, and then the, I'm trying to look at my notes, sorry. Oh, the next one. The Beijing, that were, 94, 95. And this is right at the same time that the proclamation came out. And so, because that's always like struck me as like, how did our leaders know? And granted, we have prophets, and of course they knew, but, for them to do something like that, that really at the time was so prophetic, that was something that, wasn't being talked about in the United States, wasn't really on the radar as far as gay marriage and, advocating for the family and things like that. And so, but yet these things were happening at the UN at that time. And so for me, it was very eye-opening. And I feel like the more people we tell, the more people we educate about what is going on, the more we're going to get people that will speak out and stand up. And it won't necessarily be from our religion, but it doesn't have to be either. Sorry, that was really long-winded.
So she talked about how the Catholic Church has a very big portion of all of that. And so, they're not LDS. We do share common morals and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's all good.
Alyssa, what about you? What level do you think is the most important, and how would you start to advocate for that?
I thought it was the macro system too. But then we started talking more, and I was like, maybe the most important one is the micro system, because that's where you start and that's where you build your foundation, and then you kind of go out from there. And I think that's where I would start, is I would start small. I would start with my family, and I would first teach my family, and then I would go into the community, and then, oh, sorry, bub. And the community, and then I would kind of do little things here and there to kind of build up to that point where I get to the macro system. So maybe it's maybe I would say the micro system, because I think that's where you kind of build your foundation. That's what I would say. And I would just start small and then work my way up.
Well, and I think that's, and I like that was how Kelly did hers. She started in her community and, and did a few things there and, worked her way up. Had she just jumped into the UN, I think it would have been a totally different experience that, she wouldn't have been prepared for. But because she had those prior experiences, I feel like, that gave her the foundation that she needed to then, feel maybe not necessarily comfortable, but able to go and do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I was also thinking, you guys, okay, I thought my mic was muted again. And I was thinking, when you start out small and you kind of have those experiences, like you were saying, you educate yourself more. If you go and try to advocate for something where you don't really have you don't really know a lot about, it's true, and you have a passion for it, but you don't know both sides of the argument, you don't know how to argue it, then you won't really get very far. And so, like you were saying, starting out small, getting those experiences, talking to a lot of people, educating yourself, then when you get to that point when you're at the UN, then you can advocate better because you have more of a background, more of an education, more of an experience with both sides, and with that thing that you're trying to advocate for, with families or children or abortion or pornography or whatever it may be.
Right, exactly. And I think if I had to summarize, I think that would be our summary, would be that it's important to advocate and that it's best to start small and build your experience. And as you build on that experience, you'll gain confidence to then go out and advocate for bigger and bigger groups. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I agree. I think that's a good summary.
Darcy, do you think that's a good consensus?
Yes, just say it again.
I think advocating is important. Starting small, I think, helps you build the experiences that you need. It helps build your foundation so that you then have the confidence to go out and advocate in bigger and bigger systems. So starting in the micro system and building there, and then going to the meso system and then the macro system.
Just say it, or do I have to say it again?
No, I think I've said it twice now. I think we're good.
Okay.
Right. And I think we're good. So I think we'll call it a night.
So I just put this on that discussion board, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then I'll put this video up.